Today, I'm going to be giving you 5 simple photography tips for beginners. Let's roll the intro. Love that intro so much. Hey guys, how's it going? My name is Dean Tucker and welcome back to another photography video. Today I'm going to be giving you 5 simple photography tips. If you're a beginner starting out, like most people like me, I didn't really know what I was doing at the beginning. I didn't really know how to use the camera and what were the best tips and tricks to go about doing it. So hopefully this video will answer a few of those questions for you. So I'm going to get straight into it. The first one is don't feel pressured to shoot in manual. A lot of photography blogs and videos and tutorials out there will tell you it is absolutely essential to learn the manual settings, and yes, it is important and it does help you understand the camera and how to use it a lot more. It helps you understand the lights and what settings work best for different situations, but it is not absolutely essential to learn manual from the very beginning. For the longest time, I shot in aperture priority, and by doing so, this allowed me to control my depth of field. So if you're shooting at a low aperture, it'll make your background look a little bit more blurry. If you're shooting at a higher aperture, that'll make almost everything in focus. So for example, if you're shooting a landscape versus shooting a portrait. So by just controlling the aperture, I didn't really have to think about the shutter speed. The technology that we have nowadays is so fast at calculating equations and balancing out the exposure that we don't really need to think about it. So all I did was control my aperture and let the camera figure out what shutter speed I needed to get the right exposure. It's as simple as that. I must say I do shoot in manual now, but that is only because I go for a very specific look, which is a more underexposed style. And I think if you do want to take it a step further than just using those automatic settings, then definitely look into using manual and learning a bit more about it, because you can just add your own style to it and create a unique aesthetic other than the automatic settings. Obviously, sometimes your camera doesn't read the light properly all of the time, but nowadays even your phones are just so good at measuring the lights and working out the correct shutter speed to match that. So again, no pressure to shoot in manual. Start out in aperture priority, figure out your camera, figure out composition and lighting first, and then dip a bit into the manual settings. So that takes me onto my second point, which is learn composition. My preferred method is the rule of thirds, and this makes such a big difference to the way your photos look. This is a lot of the time what distinguishes an amateur to a professional. It's just how they compose their photos, how they make use of negative space, and the framing of their subject within the frame. The frame in the frame. Subject in the frame. So if you don't know, the rule of thirds is a composition rule which splits your frame up into third grid lines. So you probably have seen this on your iPhone or on some cameras that you have used once upon a time, but pretty much if I just split this frame into 3 third lines, so we got our thirds over here. I'm placed nicely in the center of the frame. I got some plants going on in this third, and then I got a little bit more negative space going on this side. So all in all, it just creates a nice balanced, cohesive composition. What I could do as well is shift over to the right third line, and if this was more of an interview style video, I would probably look at my interviewer somewhere over here, and that just creates this nice negative space in this side over here. Probably wouldn't have the same busyness background like that lamp thing over there, but you get the point. I'm on the right third line. For my YouTube videos, I'm in the middle. You could be on the left third line. There's just so many different ways to do it, but you don't really want to be like over here, because this is just like leaving way too much negative space in the middle. And you also don't really want to be over here. So just bring it back to that third line. Make sure that you get your rule of thirds composition all nice and good. Don't know why I just did that, but yeah, let's move on to point number 3. Number 3 is having good lighting. Along with the second rule of composition, I think composition and good lighting make for the best kinds of photographs. If you don't have good lighting, but your composition is good, you probably still won't get the best shot. So my advice would be to shoot at golden hour. I'm sure you've heard of this. This is the time of sunrise and sunset. The half an hour before the sun rises, half an hour after the sun rises, and then half an hour before sunset and half an hour after sunset. At that time, you'll get some nice soft golden light coming through onto your subject, and you want to make the most of that because that definitely does make for the best kinds of photographs. You can also shoot at blue hour, which is the hour after sunset, so when the sky gets a nice milky blue color in between sunset and darkness, you just get some more of that nice natural soft blue light coming onto your subject, which can make for some super cinematic shots. But you do want to avoid shooting at daytime. time because the sun will just be a little bit too high and you'll get some weird lighting effects on your subject. Trying to replicate the sun didn't go too well. My fourth tip is to shoot in RAW. A lot of the time beginners will just keep their cameras on the basic default settings, and this is shooting on a picture file called JPEG. I'm sure you've seen this on your computer before, and basically it's a compressed version of an image. So a RAW image is pretty much an uncompressed image. It retains the most detail that your camera can handle. It captures an image and tries to retain details in the highlights as well as in the shadows. By doing this gives your camera a greater dynamic range and makes the editing process a whole lot easier. If your image is a little bit overexposed, you are able to bring it down. If it's a little bit underexposed, you are able to bring it up and still retain the detail in the picture. But a quick bonus tip, make sure that you don't overexpose and blow out your highlights. The reason being is that highlights are a lot harder to bring back into the picture than it is for shadows. I don't really know the scientific reason behind this, but once you blow out your highlights, if it's complete white, you cannot really bring that back and retain the detail. So rather underexpose your photos just a little bit so that you can bring up the shadows and still have the detail in the highlights. My fifth and final tip is all you need is a camera, nothing extra. Just have fun and test it out. When you're starting out, you don't need all the gear. You don't need the best camera in the world. You don't need a billion lenses. You don't need a microphone, a stabilizer, an external monitor, all of the things that you see professional photographers using. You don't need it. I do photography and video as a business and I only have one lens. Probably not the best thing in the world and I wish I did have more lenses, but the point is that you don't need a lot of gear to take good photos. Use what you have and figure it out and push it to the limits until you know the ins and outs of that gear and you've pushed it to the max. But even then, you are still able to create beautiful pictures with a cheap DSLR body and a kit lens. I've taken photos on this, which is the Canon Rebel T5i, and got some beautiful images from it. So it really is not about the gear, it's just the way you use the gear. Make sure you're shooting in RAW, figure out your camera, play around with all of the settings. You can always reset it to defaults if you don't like something, so give it a go, just have fun, get out there and get shooting. In saying that, those are my 5 simple photography tips for beginners. Just a quick recap. Number 1, don't feel pressured to shoot in manual. Number 2, learn the rules of composition. Number 3, make sure that you have good lighting in your pictures. Number 4, shoot in RAW to retain the most detail. And number 5, gear doesn't matter, use what you have. In saying that, I'm gonna wrap up this video here. Please do leave a like if you did like this video, and also subscribe to the channel if you are new around here for new photography videos every single week. I hope you enjoyed this video and I hope you managed to learn something new. Welcome to the world of photography. It's gonna be an epic journey and I really hope that you enjoy it. Let me know down in the comments below if you are starting out, if there's any other tips that you have for other beginners out there. Just let me know all the things down in the comments below. In saying that, I'm gonna leave this here. Thank you so much for watching. In the meantime, remember to stay weird, don't die, and make it happen. I'll see you guys in the next one.